Hello everyone, welcome to another Primordial Empire video. This is a showcase of the different biomes that we have in the game. These biomes are going to be a central part of the final game. Each biome has their own modifiers and their own ecosystem behind them. You get unique resources in each one of them, and it's going to be an important part of the gameplay that you have these different colonies in different biomes that you can use to produce rare resources and ship them around in your empire. The first biome we are going to look at is the lush biome. This will be most likely the starting location of where your empire grows from. It is a cozy, secure and very fertile grounds to grow in. And there is a lot of wild growth. So you have a lot of these small micro-agaves, the wild ones, the black ones. You have cave grass. You see lots of resources lying around that you can dig out. And you see that there is also a vibrant ecosystem already in place with lots of wild stem cells. They are called progenitor cells, and they are being hunted by wild hunter cells. And these hunter cells themselves can be hunted by the carnitubes, carnivorous plants that gulp up everything that they can come in contact with. There's also some parasites and some stabpoles. These are hostile creatures that will attack your colony. You can befriend these cells and they will then play a part in your own ecosystem, in your own collective. They will not be part of the collective themselves, so you will not be able to control them exactly like your own cells, but they will become friendly. They will provide bonuses. For example, the progenitor cells, the progenitor pods will spawn stem cells for you if you befriend them. Or the wild hunter cells will also be able to provide some insight into how you hunt different organisms that you encounter, so that your own hunters, your own predators, like the feeder cells, will be able to hunt neutrals and even enemies. Next, we're looking at the salt barrens. This is like an underwater desert. It's much more difficult to find fertile ground here. So this is one of the limiting factors and makes this one a bit more interesting. There is limited wild growth in this one, but what you see here is the wild nomad cells, which tend to roam around a lot through the map. They have these egg clutches that they use as targets for their traveling routes, and they are adapted to this harsh environment. They are omnivorous, so they can eat these little food particles, but they can also eat cells which they find on their way. This includes your own cells. You will also find pockets of life in here, for example, hunter cells and parasites, and of course progenitor cells, which are basically in all the biomes you can find them. As the name implies, the salt barrens will be the place where you get salt from, which is one of the strategic resources that will be in the full release of the game. Next up is the fungal biome. Now this is a rather toxic place, full of poisonous organisms, parasites, overall just not the nicest place to live. There are many dangers here. It is also rather mineral poor. Upside is that there are lots of toxic fungal patches that you can use to harvest toxins. These are then needed for your defensive plants, for example. In the full game, this will be the only biome where you can harvest toxins. So this will be the place where you need to go at some point for access to that resource. You can see that there are specialized food-producing organisms here. They are called wither leeks. They are kind of like the cave grass, but they produce toxic food. They can be befriended and become much more edible and are actually then quite a nice source of extra food for your stem cells. And next we have the cave biome. This is an interesting one because it doesn't have any natural light, so it's really difficult for all the organisms that are dependent on sunlight. And there are lots of organisms in your collective that are dependent on sunlight. It does have these wild glow plants, however, that can produce light. Some of them are switched on by default and you can just use that light for your collective. Others need to be befriended and will then switch on their light. The caves are very fertile because they are secluded. The detritus is building up everywhere and you can use that as fertile ground to grow on. The caves are also very resource rich. And there will be lots of secrets hidden here. Even though this is quite a difficult place to grow in, it is worth the risk. Lots of different organisms call this place their home, and not all of them are friendly. And finally, let's have a look at the mineralized biome. As the name suggests, this is a very mineral-rich place. Not very rich in the other resources, but if you need a robust production chain for minerals, this is the place to set it up. It is also home to a peculiar suite of wild cells. So for example, the purgelings, which you may know from the combat scenario, are native to this place. They will be found roaming these caves. If you've played the combat scenario, you will know that you don't want them anywhere near your plants. There is also another wild cell roaming here, and this is called the conjugators. They come in two flavors, red and blue, conjugators A and conjugators B. They have discovered a peculiar mode of reproduction. They mate. Conjugator A's, the red ones, will seek out conjugator B's, and if they click, they will do a little dance, and then there is some gene transfer, and afterwards the conjugator B cells will be fertilized. And they will then grow a little bit and seek out a new place where they can grow a new hub. So as most of the other organisms in Primordial Empire, these cells have a sessile component which is bound to a wall, which is named a plant in-game. Out of this plant will grow a mobile cell. Conjugators are carnivorous, so they may eat your own cells, but if you befriend them, you can actually convince them to start eating enemies. And that can be very handy if you have lots of step poles or other unwanted organisms around. Now, it doesn't always click. Sometimes a conjugator A cell will attempt to initiate a dance, but it may get eaten instead of having the dance completed. So it's dangerous for them as well. Okay, that's it for this showcase video. I hope you found this interesting, and go over to Steam, look at the Primordial Empire demo and give it a go. If you like it, drop a wishlist. See you in the Primordial Soup.